Hello and welcome to my channel. I have here the Craft Escape Pod Battlefield expansion for Star Wars Legion. And this is from the opening scenes of A New Hope, complete with R2-D2 and C-3PO. So let's get this open and check it out. This is a plastic kit which naturally needs assembling. And as with all the Legion products, everything is nice and neatly packed away in little plastic bags. The largest of these contain 3 sprues, and the bases for the escape pod and droids come in separate bags. I'm going to place everything out so we can take a closer look at all these components. The instructions consist of several exploded diagrams on a double-sided A4 sheet. Since the droids are playable characters, we also have the necessary cards and tokens to use these in a game. And these are all our plastic pieces laid out. It doesn't look like a lot. It's time to get snipping. And I always tidy up each part as I move along, and you can use either a hobby knife or file to do this. And I find plastic cement is the best glue to glue these together. And as you can see, I'm starting off with the escape pod, and all the parts fit together very well, leaving very few seam lines. And the option is there if you choose to modify this capsule, such as leaving some of the escape hatches open. Right, the main body is assembled. Just need to assemble and glue in all the thrusters. There are 2 small ones at the front, 3 small ones at the back, along with 4 large ones. And now we can move on to the droids, starting off first with C-3PO. There aren't a lot of parts, and most of them can only go on in a certain way. Although I have a little bit more posing options when it comes to the arms and the head, as they can be rotated up or down or left and right. R2-D2 is in more of a fixed pose, with the head being the only part which can be rotated to how you see fit. Now I'm not gluing these guys to their bases just yet, as I'm going to be making a display base, but also have the figures removable so they can be played with in the game. You can see how nicely detailed these miniatures are in the close-up. And I'm going to mount all these on the display base, and to do that I've already cut out this sheet of PVC board. First I need to sand down the edges, then work out where I'm going to position everything. The cradle for the escape pod will form part of the base, everything else will be removable. I want R2-D2 and C-3PO to look like they just walked away, so they will be placed slightly in front. Now it's time to break out the sculptor mould and create this landscape. And this is mixed 50-50 with water. When mixing this together, it's almost like kneading bread. And once it's thoroughly mixed, you've got about half an hour working time. After that the mixture will start becoming crumbly and get hard to take form. So I'll spread it out to where it needs to go on the base, and at this stage it doesn't need to be too neat. The crash landing cradle is going to be permanently affixed, so I'll push that into the sculptor mould and then blend it in. And this will hold it into place once it's set. I need to put the droid bases into their place and make sure that it's flush with the surface of the sculptor mould. I need to pop these out before they're fully dry, as these will need to be removable, so that way we can still have our diorama and still play with these miniatures in the game. So I'll put the base to one side for now so it has a chance to fully dry. So in the meantime I'm going to start painting the miniatures. And the first step as always is to apply the primer. Then I go ahead and paint the base colours on each one. Starting off with R2-D2, whose main colour is white. C-3PO's main colour is gold, but in this film he has a silver leg. And for the escape pod, I'm going to start off painting it in a white grey, which is the base colour for the majority of the ships in this universe. Next I move on to the secondary colours, such as the silver, which is on C-3PO's replacement leg as well as R2-D2's dome. Ink panel liner is also very good for bringing out some of the details, especially at such a tiny scale. R2-D2 requires a lot of fine detail painting, and at this scale you just have to try and make it as neat and tidy as possible. The bases already have a little bit of sand texture on them, so I just paint them in yellow ochre, and then I apply a black around the edges, as I find that this is the neatest way to present the model, so that it doesn't blend in too much with your gaming board. I use good old super glue to glue these fellas down to their bases. And now for the basing. I cover both bases with PVA glue and then simply dip them into a bag of model sand, and that's it. You could also add rocks and other scenery, but I didn't think it was necessary for these guys, as I wanted them to fit in with the box art. I then added a few drops of fixer to help secure the sand in place, and that's the droid completed. There isn't a lot of colour on the escape pods, so I've painted a few select areas in a slightly darker grey, as well as painting the single window black, and all that the pod really needs now is weathering. I started by brushing on a light grey wash, and then dabbing off the excess with a tissue. This will help make it more three-dimensional. The majority of the weathering is on and around the thrusters, and for this I used black pigment, plus I added a little bit of scoring on the front of the pod where it entered the atmosphere. And then that can all be sealed in with a matte sealer. And now I can return my attention to the base, which I start off by sanding smooth. And then off camera I sprayed it all with a textured paint, and this just helped blend all the materials together, so it looks like one complete unit. And then I go ahead and paint it yellow ochre, and then I follow the same process as I did with basing the droids, and that's just covering it with PVA glue and then covering it with model sand. And then it's just a matter of putting it to one side for a couple of days to dry, and then we can put all the pieces together. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I designed it this way on purpose. That way I have both a display piece as well as separate pieces to use in the game, so it's a bit of a best of both worlds scenario. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.